I looked into getting a funeral plan. I have paid for my funeral
What were you at your heaviest, kind of around the time we met?
£253. Life was a complete and utter struggle from the time I got up to the time I got to bed. So I had muscle pain from the fibro and joint pain from the lupus. So I was just pain.
This is Mandy. I'm gonna go over Mandy's journey from being 62 years old, 263 pounds with 2 autoimmune diseases in menopause to losing 110 pounds, being full of energy, confident, and best of all, in control of her body results for life. And before you say anything, this isn't your normal fad diet transformation you see on magazines or social media. She used 0 weight loss shots or cosmetic surgeries because that shit is a band-aid on the end of a water hose. I'm also gonna give you my 5-step, foolproof body transformation blueprint that helped Mandy and hundreds of other clients lose 25+ pounds and keep it off for the rest of their life without losing their minds. All right, I'm gonna stop stalling. Let's dive in. So the first thing we focused on with Mandy, and the first thing that you need to focus on, is your step count. Walking's the easiest, most accessible way to start moving the dial on your fat loss, and yet hardly anybody's taking advantage of it or tracking it. The biggest misconception around walking is that you need some arbitrary huge goal with it, like 10,000 steps. How often have you heard you have to walk 10,000 steps? This is the biggest mistake you could possibly make. The best thing you can do is start tracking your steps now and simply get a weekly total. For Mandy, we started from 0. She was on crutches. So what we did was, instead of setting the bar way too far beyond where she's currently at, we brought the bar to her. How much was she walking? 0 steps. Let's start with walking for either 1 minute or walk 50 steps a day. This may seem super simple and super attainable. That's the point. We need to build momentum of you following through on your own word to yourself. More on that later. A lot of people confuse step count with exercise. What's the difference between jogging and walking? Here's the difference. Walking is a greater depiction of your overall activity level, aka what you do outside of exercise. When we think about it, exercise is only about an hour of your day max. There's 23 other hours of the day. So the more active you are outside of that 1 hour of exercise, the bigger impact you're gonna have on your overall fat loss because you just live an active lifestyle. And so by simply tracking your steps and getting a weekly total and then just gradually increasing that total over time, your time with fat loss is gonna be much easier than someone who works out really hard but is sedentary the rest of the time. It's not about setting these huge arbitrary metrics like saying, I'm gonna walk 10,000 steps or I'm gonna drink a gallon of water a day. We see this all the time with New Year's resolutioners. Packed gym in January, empty gym in February. Why? We've set the bar way too high in comparison to our current reality. And so with Mandy, since she was on crutches and barely able to walk at all, we started with committing to one 1-minute walk per day. We set the bar low, she followed through on that, and then we increased once she was consistently completing that commitment to herself. This is how you build trust with yourself, to start following through on your own commitments and get a ton of momentum, and the compound interest from completing these micro commitments over time will result in you getting crazy results long term. Once Mandy could walk 1 minute, we committed to walking 3 minutes, and so on and so on. Eventually, when Mandy combined this new value of walking with steps 2 through 5, her body transformed by the day. And now, walking is a value that helps her look good and feel amazing year round. The second step in this body transformation blueprint, eating more protein. We just talked about steps and how steps comprise 15% or more of your calories burned every day, your non-exercise activity. Protein can have a huge impact on your fat loss, and our populace is chronically under-consuming it. Most people are painfully unaware of how much protein they're consuming on a daily basis. If you simply increase your protein intake little by little, it can be a huge mover in your fat loss journey. And here's how we did it with Mandy. Again, we had to meet Mandy where she's at. The biggest mistake people make is setting your protein goal way too high and thinking you have to hit a specific carb and fat goal. You don't. They don't really play a factor in your fat loss results as far as the proportion of one to the other. The biggest thing you need to focus on is your total calorie goal and your total protein goal. When it comes to burning fat, people need to control their input column in relation to their output column. Here's how protein helps you do that. Protein is more filling. So as you eat more of it, you may feel fuller, you may even feel bloated. That's normal. It's a part of the process. Since protein is more filling, however, it's gonna help you eat less overall. So the input column decreases in proportion to the output column. The cool thing about protein is it also increases the output column via the thermic effect of food. 10% or more of your calories burned every day comes from digesting food, and protein has the highest thermic effect of food. So the more you eat of it, the more calories you're burning digesting it. In addition to that, that, protein helps you build muscle tissue. Muscle tissue helps you burn more calories at rest, simply functioning, because muscle tissue is a calorically more expensive organ. So the more muscle tissue you have, the more calories you burn in your sleep, and the output column just keeps on rising in proportion to the input column, which is decreasing because protein is more filling. People are simply chronically overeating. So with Mandy, what we did was we did the same thing that we do with step count. We said, how much protein are you currently consuming? 15 grams a day? Cool. We simply increased from 15 grams to 20 grams, not 100. Remember, we have to bring the bar to where you're at so you have a chance to reach out and grab it instead of setting the bar way too far out, falling short of it, and feeling like a failure. So we went to 20 grams and then 25 grams a day, 30 grams, and so on until Mandy was consistently consuming over 100 grams of protein per day. By this point, she had already lost 35 pounds. So right now, just get a rough goal of how much protein you're eating on a daily basis and simply increase that over time. If you fall short of your protein goal, you're not failing. And the cool part is, as you work towards hitting that goal over time, you'll already be losing weight on your way there. Whether your goal is 100 grams of protein, 80 grams of protein, doesn't matter. First, find where you're at and simply increase gradually over time. Don't overthink which foods to eat. Simply make eating protein a value for you. Here are some high protein foods: meat, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, chicken, tuna, salmon, tilapia, cod, legumes, lentils, quinoa, eggs, edamame, seitan, tofu, tempeh. See, I got you, vegetarians. This leads us to step 3. Thank you. Giving yourself permission to eat foods you were told were bad. Most people think that in order to lose 100 pounds, the approach has to be extreme. You have to cut out foods and exercise a ton. The problem is, none of that's repeatable. In order to continue doing the things that lead to consistent weight loss, and more importantly, maintenance of that weight loss, what you're doing has to be repeatable and enjoyable. I help Mandy understand that as long as she consistently hit a protein goal, average the caloric range, prioritizing but not solely eating nutrient-dense foods, and increasing her step count gradually, she would feel fuller and be less prone to overeating, build and maintain muscle tissue, which helped her burn more calories in her sleep and throughout the rest of the day, burn more and more calories from her steps even though she wasn't exercising yet. All of this kept her output column high and her input column at a point that kept her in an energy deficit consistently enough to continuously lose weight for over a year. Imagine the freedom you would feel when you no longer associate stress, fear, or guilt or anxiety around food. This is the life that Mandy now lives, because throughout this process, she consistently saw proof over and over that she could eat these foods and still see progress. While most influencers will tell you to cut out refined sugars and processed foods completely in order to make progress, I'm gonna come at you from a different perspective. The bad labels we put on food are way more damaging than the food themselves. There is no food that's damaging in and of itself. It's the overconsumption of calories as a whole, because processed foods are not filling and high calorie. So by prioritizing more nutrient-dense foods and filling our caloric range with more foods that fill us up, while also giving ourselves permission to enjoy delicious foods, we create an environment where our nervous system isn't in perpetual fight or flight from food fear, food anxiety. We're fuller, we have more energy, and we're not binging after depriving ourselves for no reason. We gain the power of choice. There's power in saying yes to a food that's delicious and not feeling any kind of guilt or anxiety. There's also a lot of power in saying no, because we understand that it may not fit our caloric range for that day. And we're an average of our decisions with food over time, not 1 or 2 meals here and there. This was super helpful for Mandy, knowing that throughout her journey, if she happened to go over her caloric range one day, all she had to do was just get back in the range in the days moving forward, instead of overcorrecting by over-exercising or severely under-eating or fasting or cutting out sugar and carbs. So a huge part of this process is removing the labels we've placed upon food that create the guilt or anxiety in the first place, giving ourselves permission to enjoy foods that we love, prioritizing protein, prioritizing a caloric range, feeling fuller, eating more nutrient-dense foods. All of this gives us the freedom to be able to have a balance of eating the foods we need and enjoying the foods we love, so you can persist and repeat this process. The fourth huge step that Mandy took in her body transformation process was getting stronger and lifting weights. After you've checked the boxes of becoming aware of and increasing your protein total, increasing your weekly step total, and consuming more nutrient-dense foods while not deleting foods that you love, it's time to focus on what can become rocket fuel for your body transformation: getting stronger. At 62 years of age, Mandy had never set foot in a gym. So we approached getting stronger the the same way we approached the other pillars, by meeting her where she was at. We started with body weight and resistance bands at home. When those got easy, we added free weights like dumbbells and some barbells. Once she needed more equipment because she was getting too strong for the equipment she had, we moved to the gym. A key part of her progression with strength was that because she was already increasing her step count, she had an appetite increase. Because of the appetite increase, she was able to consume more protein. Because she was able to consume more protein, she responded way faster to the weight training. As she became stronger, walking got a lot easier, so she could extend her walks beyond 10 minutes and even add an additional walk every day. Eventually, we helped her gather the courage to step into the gym for the first time, and here's where her progress started to skyrocket, because for the first time ever, she had access to equipment that enabled her to challenge her body with heavier and heavier weight. Remember earlier in this video when I mentioned that Mandy was going through menopause? A big concern that I hear from a lot of women is, what if my metabolism decreases with age? The number one culprit for a decreasing basal metabolic rate as you age is loss of skeletal muscle tissue. It is so important for women to lift weights. It will not make you bulky, it will not make you masculine, and Mandy is living proof of that. So wherever you're at, it doesn't matter. If you've never lifted a weight in your life, meet yourself where you're at, start with body weight. Buy some dumbbells, 5 to 25 pounds. Be willing to look dumb for a while you learn how to do it right. The more willing you are to look dumb and suck at something, the more quickly you're gonna become an expert at it. So get in there, don't be afraid of looking dumb. We were all there at some point, and you'll thank yourself 8 months to a year from now. Mandy's willingness to step into the intimidating testosterone zone in the gym and lift the free weights with the men was pivotal in her body transformation, and I want you to feel the courage to do the same thing. The fifth and final step in Mandy's body transformation was coaching and being surrounded by a community of women all pursuing the same goals. Since body transformation is not a 90-day challenge, but a perpetual adoption of values that you repeat because it's simply what you live. At the end of the day, it's beliefs that need to be changed, trust in self that needs to be cultivated, and compassion for who you are now that needs to be your default setting instead of constantly setting the bar too high, falling short of that bar, and then feeling like a failure. So doing all of this is way easier when you're walking amongst a group of high caliber women who want the same thing for themselves. As you go throughout this process, your waterline is going to rise. It's one thing to have a coach, it's quite another to have a tribe. The more you surround yourself with other women who share these values and support you on your journey, the higher likelihood of you sticking with it when you doubt the process, and you will doubt the process. So this was our 5-step blueprint that helped Mandy go from being on crutches and planning her own funeral at 260 pounds, trying everything to lose weight and nothing was working, to doing a boudoir photo shoot at the age of 62, having complete food freedom, feeling confident, being healthier, having a ton of energy, and maintaining the results forever. If Mandy's journey resonated with you and you're ready to get off the dieting hamster wheel and get fat loss results that last the rest of your life, click the link below to learn more about our body transformation coaching. Maybe you're not ready for full-on coaching at this time. If that's the case, cool. I still want you to win. So watch this simple 4-phase approach to body transformation. I'll see you on the other side.